to all of your questions. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, you'll need to register on the website. Once registered, go to our live Safari page and submit a question below the live feed. Catch up with me on Wild Earth.
This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, everyone. It's a very cold, wintry, blustery morning here in Djuma Private Game Reserve. I think it's safe to say that winter is definitely here, although it's not as cold as I thought it would be. The vegetation, at least, is subsiding, so of course that means we can see further. So although it's cold and chilly, I am very excited, and I hope you all are too, because it's that time of day for your live bumble through the bush. Welcome aboard, everyone. It's an absolute pleasure to have you all here, and it's a pleasure for me to be back. I'm very, very happy to be back and on the vehicle, of course, to catch up with what has been going on in Djuma. My name is Lauren. I do have Davi on camera once again, and we're back in the game. So when that happens, you've got to just start from scratch and, well, get reacquainted with the reserve, shall we say. I'm very excited to be working with Tristan again. Don't tell him that, though, please. I still blame him for breaking Wendy's antenna, but, you know, I'm very excited to be working with him. And as I mentioned, I'm just going to be getting reacquainted with the reserve. It's very sad news that the hyena den these days is just not as active. But it came to that time when they're all just a little bit older and they're mobile. They're fully mobile now. So we shall check on there at some point, but the sightings are becoming less and less frequent. So, of course, everyone, this is your live safari. You can talk to us. Please do send in all your wonderful questions, all your wonderful comments, a joke or two, whatever you wish to tell us. And you do that by using the hashtag WildEarth on Twitter. You can use @FC on the YouTube chat. Kids, if you're watching, you are our favourite. You must talk to us. The email address is kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. Or another option for you all, you can head over to the Wild Earth website, register and submit your questions under the live safari page. So we're going to go west for now. I don't know why, I just feel like going west. This is the highway of Djuma, a very, very busy road, and we're going to head up here. Apparently there's been lots of activity around here. There's new leopards to get acquainted with, and even new lions. Things are changing here. I can feel it. In both the lion camp and the leopard camp, and I guess the hyena camp too. Many of you are saying welcome back. Thank you, thank you. Beautiful Trishala is in fact away. I am here, and Tristan is still here. Do not worry. So yes, everything is changing. And just before I left, we met that S8 male, and we also met those Plains Camp boys, lions, and I believe they are still around. Tristan was also informing me about Kruger males, 2 new Kruger males. So things are definitely changing in terms of the lions, and of course the leopards too. Okay, I'm going to keep bumbling west, see what I can find. And we already told you it's very chilly and grey here, but let's take a look at the weather across all our locations.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to and beyond Ngala. So right here, where I was looking, actually, we had some tracks of a leopard walking up and down this road. My name is Trico, and behind the camera, I have Craig with me. So I was just trying to see if I can show you guys one, but I can't see anything here. I think we have more fresh tracks over there. So I'm just gonna hop onto the car and then we'll continue driving and see if we can find this leopard. All right, looks like this leopard is heading just behind us, walking that way. So we're gonna reverse back, try to see if maybe we can follow it. And there's also some impalas that are sounding like they're alarming just behind us. Also wants to go have a look. So we've been seeing these tracks going in and around this area for like, I don't know, for like 2 weeks straight, 3 weeks straight. So I think this is the leopard that we had like 3 days ago. And we think she might have a den somewhere around here. Just want to quickly have a look and see maybe we don't miss these tracks at all. But yeah, she could have been hunting because this tracks looks like from early this morning. Because remember yesterday we had a little bit of a drizzle, we had a bit of rain. So these tracks are after the rain, so they're on top of the raindrops. So I don't know if maybe she's walking up and down this area to be able to return to her youngsters. Or it could have been she's been hunting. Let me quickly jump down here and have a look on this road. And it also looks like there's quite a few hyena tracks walking up and down. So I think maybe these hyenas also could have been maybe smelled her, picked up a scent, and, you know, tried to follow her. Because as you know, once leopards have some food or they've caught something, these hyenas will linger around, try to steal it away from her. So areas where we'll be looking for these leopards are, obviously we're going to keep our eyes out for tracks. And also looking up on trees and under the trees, because it's still nice and cool. I mean, she could potentially come out even though we think she has cubs. What is my favorite animal to track, Sandra? Welcome. I'm glad that you can join us in this beautiful morning here at Ngala. It's actually hard to pick, but I think leopard will come first and then a lion. Because with leopards is, you know, it's always an adventure trekking down leopards. You know, since they are sort of thicket animals, you know, they like areas that are quite secure and very, very thick. And sometimes when they're walking on the grass, can be quite difficult to, to tell where exactly they're going. And at times you have to think, why is this leopard walking here? Why is it heading in that direction? Maybe there could be water, or it could be hunting. So it makes you think all the time. And also because they are solitary animals. I mean, you only see them when they are with other animals, when, they have cubs or they are mating. But most of the time, they are solitary, which makes it hard to track them, unlike lions where, they'll be in prides. So it's a little bit easier to pick up their tracks around. Also, their tracks are quite bigger, while leopards are slightly smaller to a lion track. So these are the impalas that we had alarm calling earlier on. So it could have been maybe they've seen something, but then also this is the rutting season now, so they could just be screaming at each other, chasing each other around. I think I'm gonna bypass them for now. Just keep me an eye out on these tracks of this leopard we're looking for. Good morning, Janelle, and welcome. So yeah, we do name them. The ones that we quite see often, or the ones that are common, as you said, we do give them names, indeed. So this particular one that we're looking for, we call her the Nyala female. And Inyala basically is a name of a tree. I know there's a Nyala, which is an animal, but there's also a tree or trees here that we call Nyala trees. I think we're gonna do another loop and make sure we've covered this block and see if maybe we can pick up more tracks. But for now, I'm gonna send you over to Tristan to say hello.
Well, we're going to try this again. Good morning, everybody. My name is Tristan. On camera, I've got Paul. Always a treat to have Paul back and on the vehicle. Hopefully we can have a good morning. It's chaos already this morning. We've been following up on various things. Tandy's kill was stolen. There's a leopard that's just been found now at Twin Dams kind of area, so I just want to see if we can maybe get a view there. And there's dogs on the southern end of the Chitwa airstrip, just in a net. So hopefully we'll be able to catch one of them at some point. But yeah, it's, like I say, just a bit chaotic and a bit frenzied at the moment. So we'll just have to wait and see what we can get. Maybe we'll get lucky and pick up something, but it seems like everything's going the wrong way. Like I said, the trucks are all going away from our areas rather than into our areas. But you never know. Which dogs it is, I have no idea. The guys, obviously, a lot of the guys don't have any idea which wild dogs we see in this area. They don't know whether it's, the Pungwes or anything like that. And especially since the Pungwe pack has lost its member with the tooth, with the teeth showing. Now everybody's very confused by all of this. So we'll see how it goes and whether or not we can get them a little bit later. Just thought I was listening to some Franklins here, but they're just calling for the morning. All right, we're going to see what we can find and see whether or not we can get a view. In the meantime, let's send you across to Deerveld to say good morning.
A very good morning here from a cold and windy Pinda. We've just found some giraffe and quite a few zebras. You can see the clouds there in the back, but there's quite a bit of sunlight coming through from the east onto these giraffe. And look how beautiful they are, just feeding next to one of the roads here. My name is Dilt, and behind the camera we've got OD, and we are going to be driving around and seeing if we can find maybe some elephants and some lions, maybe that male lion that we saw last night. And look at all the zebras. There's even some impalas there in the back. Oh, look at these two pushing and shoving each other a little bit. A bit of a rocky area that they are looking to fight. Oh, there's a bit of a kick. Some impalas there. They've just walked behind us, those zebras, so we'll get to them soon. All these impala, zebras and giraffe are here close to a big open clearing on the one hillside. And I think they were spending the night here because it's nice and open for them to see around them. You can just see the ram rubbing his face into the bush there. Putting his scent all over that bush. Lots of grooming. Oh, this one's getting a bit of a insect bite there. So the females are moving around quite a bit. Listen to the male impala making his rutting noise there. Look how beautiful the sun is coming through the clouds. It's literally just that little gap where the sun is shining through that is not cloudy. The rest of it is all very, very, very cloudy this morning.
I'm checking down Bondway at the moment.
Making for some incredible light. I'm going to see if I can turn a little bit, and then we'll see if we can get a view of these on the rise on the road. So just bear with us while we turn around. I need to do almost like a 20-point turn because there's big holes on the sides of the roads. Don't want to get stuck in those so early in the morning. Especially not before that second cup of coffee that Odie and I have coming soon. There we go. There's the zebras up there. And we even have a good view of the impalas here off to the left-hand side as well. Quite a bit of interaction happening between the zebras. Look at that, those two stallions fighting there now. A bit of pushing and shoving happening. I wonder if that is actually a herd of quite a few stallions together. See the two on the right hand side still pushing and shoving each other there. Might be a bit of fighting to display, to sort out where the hierarchy lies between all of them. But while these zebras are walking away from us, we're gonna see if we can turn around and keep going on to our plan to see if we can find some male lions this morning. And we're gonna send you over to Lauren where she's got some feathery friends.
We have a very sweet little morning sighting. We have the African green pigeon, not just one. Oh, look. It's cleaning his tail feathers, getting ready to shake them for the day. They're all just at the top of this tree here. It's cold, so you can see that they've puffed up their feathers. And there's traps there, of course, which creates a layer of insulation, really. Isn't it sweet? You don't often see the green pigeon. It's not uncommon, but it's definitely not as common as lots of the other pigeons and doves that we see around here. And they're very gregarious. So you won't just see one, you'll see many together, and look at them. Good morning. Yes, it's cold, I know the feels. And although there's quite a lack of ambient light today, it's very overcast, they are really, really olive green in colour. And green happens to be my favourite colour. I'm very attracted to these birds. Oh. Is there still one left, or is that them all gone? All gone, and just like that, they are off, looking for some fruit. How exciting. Maybe if I was a bird, I would be a green pigeon. Favourite colour, favourite thing to eat. And I think that's my spirit bird. Now our signal does get a little bit tricky up here, but we're just taking this road because it's been a very sort of productive area. Little Miss Kara's been using this area a lot, and of course the new male, the Tavambumi young male, is using this area a lot, so it's definitely worth checking. It's a way for those animals. Is this another one, Dobby? Ah! You didn't get very far, did you? Look at that green. They think it's too cold. We don't really want to go anywhere right now. No, we do. We're hungry. Hunger versus warmth. So yes, this little northwest corner, it's right next to the gate actually, the Sabi Sands gate that we all have to go. Quite a process to get in. And it's access for Simbambili, sort of animals to cross from the west, and also access for animals to cross from Buvosut and the Manguleti. So it can be a really productive area. Tim, nests are for breeding. So nests are not for the adults. Of course, they will build the nest, sometimes contribute to the nest, reuse nests. There's all sorts of different types of nests, from floating nests to cavity nests to big, huge structures that we see like hammercock nests. And it's for breeding, so it's for them getting ready to reproduce, lay eggs, incubate, and then of course look after the hatchlings. So you won't see an adult in the nest. It's not a case of an adult sleeps in the nest at night time. It's only the young. So normally once the hatchlings get old enough to either sort of fledge or disperse, then the nest becomes pretty much redundant. And the adult birds, well, they'll hide in different places, but most birds will roost at night if they're not nocturnal. So I think we're going to have a little bit of a key signal patch. So as I make my way through this, hopefully we get lucky with some cat tracks.
Do you dream of traveling to a far-flung wilderness location where life continues as normal? A place where you can escape to nature and breathe. If you become a Wild Earth explorer, then this could soon become a reality. Subscribe today and stand a chance to win regular travel prizes. Wild Earth Explorers, it's in your nature.
So in 1998, we had this idea to go and put a live web camera on a waterhole somewhere in the Sabi Sands next to the Kruger National Park. And I approached just about every single landowner, and everybody thought I was completely crazy until I met Yuri and Pippa Moorman.
We thought it was definitely a fun idea and a worthwhile thing to experiment.
And it immediately became a runaway success. And it gave people all around the world the opportunity to watch a little piece of Africa day and night. Back in 1998, It was the very early stages of the internet, and all we were able to do was to get a 30-second refreshing JPEG out of that camera. But over time, what we began to do is focus more and more on trying to develop this concept of giving people the opportunity to go on safari.
Even though we live just 500 meters up this hill, we still put the camera on to see what's happening.
Absolutely, we watch it ourselves.
I'm Nikki here at Ambion Ngala in South Africa. I love getting questions from viewers about all the small things within the environment and how it all is integrated with one another. If you want to ask me any questions, please simply register with the Wild Earth website, head across to the Live Safari page and then post your questions there. I'm looking forward to chatting to you on my next Wild Earth drive.
Guys, have a look at what we've got. This is better than my birthday. Look at that. This is the first time that I ever see cubs this small. This is so special. This has officially just become my best sighting of all times.
Tune into Wild Earth every single day. It's in your nature.
What's that behind you? It's a tree.
Well, you've come to us just at the right time because we're just joining up with one of the leopards. The one's gone south into Little Gari, so there's no chance of seeing her. I think it's a her, I don't know, no one ID who it was, but the other cat that we've got, I think, is Kalamba in front of us. So maybe Tswalu and Kalamba? I don't know. Be interesting to know. Just want to try and catch up with her. Interestingly enough, she's heading towards where Thandi had this kudu kill yesterday. At this stage, she's not actually that far away from that area. Just wait for this vehicle and then we'll be able to get in front. I think she's a little bit in front, or on our right maybe. Seems like she's cut through the bush here. So we'll just come around. Just gotta be a bit careful in this area. I know there's like a mud wallow here somewhere. There she is. Yeah, it's definitely Kalamba. You can see her stomach is still hanging. Just see her tail dropping back. Alright, let's try and catch up with her. Looks like she's going towards the main road. So we'll just try and kind of cross through this little section here. It's a bit tricky in this area because it's quite wet. There's little mud wallows and things all over the place. So I'm going to just try and get onto the main section. Now, it could very well be that the other leopard was Tswalu. It could also be that it was Shasha. It could be Langa. It's definitely interesting that there's more than the one of them here. It doesn't seem like Kalamba knew about it because generally when Kalamba, or any leopard picks up another leopard, they follow each other and they salivate and they make a lot of kind of a show of it. And she's not salivating at all. She seems pretty chilled. Just checking her tummy. Definitely still milk in there, but let's see if there's any fresh suckle marks on her. She's been absolutely everywhere the last few days, has Kalamba. From north to south, east, west, she's covering the kind of whole territory. She doesn't have any fresh suckle marks there. I can see where her teats are, where there's been a cub that has suckled for the last little bit, but nothing fresh. There's no matted fur that I can see. I hope she still has this cub. we'll see. Time will tell. There she goes, just kind of striding along the road with those little hips that she usually has. I'm going to check now if I'm sure she's going to head to where that carcass was, and sniff around and check what's happening. All right, we'll follow her. In the meantime, let's send you across to Pridelands so that Steve Warburg can say good morning.
Welcome to a very cold and overcast and windy dawn here in Eco Training Pridelands, where it is 16 degrees Celsius. It is very cold. We've got jackets on. Hello everybody, my name is Steve, joined by Glenn on camera, and we are delighted to have you with us. We are out and about in an area called Red Earth, where it's quite nice and open, so we've got a lot of open ground so we can see quite far. When it is windy like this, it's quite important to be able to see, because otherwise, well, you can't really hear too much when the wind is shifting the leaves and the branches and all that. So from a safety point of view, we're going to stay outside, but have a look at that wonderful view. That way, Glenn. Beautiful morning. The wind picked up last night. It was throwing our tent all over the place. Cleared the sky. The clouds were completely gone by the time I went to bed. And now they've pulled in again. I couldn't tell you. I mean, animals are about, they're always about. It's just whether they're moving or not is the question. And on bushwalk, we're not really likely to see many animals. Generally, the case of being on bushwalk is the fact that you aren't really designed to see animals. You do sometimes. We are just west of Leopard Dam, so we might eventually head in that direction. Because it's quite cold, I don't foresee too many animals going towards there to drink. And because it's windy, many of the animals, herbivore animals that are around and about, the prey animals, are going to be hanging away and trying to sort of keep themselves safe, because when it's windy, their hearing is impeded and they're much more easily caught. So who knows? But you never know. Anything could happen on bushwalk. Anything could happen out on safari. We could have honey badgers just materializing on the scene. There's lots of elephants around, although we didn't see any on our drive through here this morning. I was woken in the night by a snoring buffalo who's decided to take up camp right outside mine and Glenn's tent. Okay, well, enough about our snoring buffalo. Let's send you over to Trico, who's got some flying friends.
Right, welcome back. So we are at the waterhole now. Just about to see what we're gonna find. For the last 2 days, we haven't seen anything early in the morning. And also it might be because it's a bit cold and the animals maybe will come out when it starts to get a bit warmer. But with that being said, I mean, it's always worth to come have a look here. I mean, anything is possible in Africa. Let's go a little bit up. Just gonna stand by here. Just gonna do a little bit of a scan around and see what other interesting animals we can find. And also just give us a chance to just, sit by and just listen, the sounds of nature. I don't know if you guys can hear. There's a bit of a nice breeze of air coming through. Welcome, Natasha. I'm glad you can join us. It is an absolutely beautiful scene. Those two hippos further left, close to the tree there. Maybe it could be more. Let's see. Yeah, 3 of them. Incredible. And I think there's some youngsters there as well. Oops, so the one right at the back, on the right-hand side, looks like a youngster there. How amazing is that? Oh, there's another big one coming out. And down. So, in this pod here, as I saw, there's another big one that came out as well. Something maybe a female and a male and a youngster in this waterhole. Yo, look at that one standing up there. Alright, I think we're gonna sit here for a little while, but in the meantime, I'll send you over to Tristan.
Well, you can see that Kalahari's just moving along slowly, that little white tip of the tail's twitching, and she seems as though she's interested in something. I don't know what it is. Maybe she's just wary of a car and kind of walking past us. She seems like she's in a bit of a funny mood this morning. I don't know, she's a bit trotty and kind of all over, and that could be because of that other leopard was around. It could just be that she's just in one of those moods. Sometimes Kalahari gets into those moods, but she's definitely on a mission this morning. She's scent marking everywhere. She's walking a lot. Something just doesn't feel right with her. I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it, but since the other day when those tracks started to move and she had that kill on Torchwood, it just feels like her whole demeanor has changed in a whole kind of way. And like I said, I don't want to obviously be pessimist about it, but even her stomach just seems flatter. It doesn't seem like there's as much milk. So hopefully there isn't an issue with, her cub. Maybe it's just kind of reading too much into it. But, it's also part and parcel of what happens out here. We've left her alone as much as we can. We haven't followed her to the dens. We haven't really been at the dens at all. So, if it's happened, it's happened. And that's just nature. It's just the way it is. It's not easy raising cubs out here. But let's just see. Time will have to tell. Her whole movement pattern has changed. She was quite localized at one point. And of late, she's just started to become a lot more kind of mobile and a lot of marking. But we'll see how it goes. You never know. Maybe things are just, she just hasn't been near her cub for a while. She just chased something now. I don't know what. What were you after, girl? She jumped into the bush, and you can see she's standing as though she missed whatever it was. Maybe go and scent mark that particular tree. She is such a beautiful cat, though. Let's see what she does. Looks like she's going to sniff there and then come back to the road. You can see she's spraying everywhere. What's going on, Kalahari? Just going to sit here. I know we don't have a view of her just yet, but I'm pretty sure she's going to come back to the road. I don't think she's going to kind of stay off the road for too long. The problem with her is she's like her mom. can do this, where she just goes behind some grass and the next thing you know, she's gone. So you've got to be a bit careful with her at times, because she can just give you the slip pretty quickly. I don't see her now. I don't see her lying down there. Oh, there she is there, I can see her. She's just kind of walking parallel with us at the moment. I just want to get round where it's a little bit more open so I can kind of get to where she's going. Chris Clown, me neither. I mean, I also hope that everything is okay. She's just here on my left-hand side, sniffing about. I also hope that nothing's happened to it. You know, that's the hardest part about being out here, is you get so invested in these leopards' lives, and you know, her becoming a first-time mom was a big celebration for all of us. So it's, you know, when these kind of things could potentially be the case, you always start to worry. And it's not that I want to cause, you know, fear mongering and try and, you know, make out and you know, form hypotheses and just throw random things out. But there's no doubt that her behavior is different in the last 5 days. She's walking very long routes at the moment. And that could be just that, like I was saying the other day, that she's feeling pressured from all the other cats that are in the area. Remember, there's a lot of females around. And, you know, we've seen Kara coming quite far towards quarantine. We know Shidulu's around. We know Tandi's around. There's Sibui's back in the area again. So, you know, it could just be that. It just could be her being kind of feeling pressured and therefore trying to just mark her boundaries. But her stomach itself just doesn't seem the same as it was the other day. It just feels like it's flatter. I mean, I don't know. Maybe somebody can do a comparison from the last sighting we had of her on that kill to today and see. Maybe it's just me and the kind of, you know, the way she looks today. I don't know. And I'm not saying that the cub is dead. I'm just saying that it feels like there's something different about her whole thing. Anyway, in the meantime, let's send you across to Steve while we try to keep up with her.
Welcome back to Pridens, everybody. Beautiful red earth. Beautiful track in the sand. After the rain, this animal would have stepped in what would have been a little bit muddier, not very muddy, but a little bit muddier than it is right now, and left a perfect footprint. I'm sure you don't need me to tell you exactly who this is. I don't know what individual it is, but it is most certainly a large male lion, and that is the back foot. That is the back foot over there. Look at my hand. There's the front foot over there, and it's damaged the soil, and there's the back foot. So look at the size of that. Goodness gracious. So there I've put my knife down. The knife is 10 centimeters, and the front of the track goes to about there. So, what's that? That's another 6 or 7 centimeters, but in the soft sand it might be a little bit bigger, so 15 to 17 centimeters. Male lion. And the back track of a male lion isn't as wide as the front, but where the toes are here, they sort of go out from the back pad. Females are much more narrow, and the back foot is actually a lot smaller. So beautiful to see tracks like this in the earth. Not sure how long ago this was. I think there was rain here 10 days ago, 11 days ago. So it was probably a couple days after that. You know, it's broken the crust of the mud over there. But it hasn't left a muddy imprint. It stepped and damaged the mud and then left sandy print underneath. Also the mud that was over here has been cracked. So definitely not that fresh and not worth following up on. But we are going to be looking around this open area for some tracks and sign in these open, exposed areas is always a marvelous thing to do. So that will be our plan for the morning. So from a male line track, let's put that away. We're going to continue on down the road, or should I say down the drainage system. As I said before, this drainage system will lead down towards Leopard Dam area. So this is pretty much the drainage line that feeds Leopard Dam. It's a very dry system, but you can see that over time it has experienced rainfall. Over here, waters have flooded and has actually cut away the bottom of this over here, and at other points it's probably been even higher. Amazing that these dry systems actually will move water, move soil, and these are called alluvial soils. Alluvial is anything that moves, so beach sand, river sand, sand dunes with wind, moving soil. Moving sand is also very well known as erosion, but alluvial meaning it's moved via wind or water. And so these dry river systems are beautiful, beautiful systems for picking up on tracks, and a wonderful area that we find animals moving through as well. Along a drainage system like this, if we look just up the way over here, when I was here last time, if you recall, I was trying to track down a lioness with cubs. She had them stashed in the drainage system just up from here. Nice tall trees, some beautiful, beautiful Tswalu groves, tall access, or should I say little nooks and crannies within the banks, with vegetation growing, perfect habitat for leopard and lion cubs. As you know, lion and leopard cubs don't use natural holes or cavities in the ground. They use bushes and undergrowth and cover to hide their youngsters. So these drainage systems are an essential part of those big cat territory and their habitat, because as we know, habitat is the place an animal eats, sleeps, lives and breeds. Without breeding sites, those animals probably won't occur there. They have to go somewhere else. And so we're going to be walking down the system and seeing what other wonderful activity we can find out in the open.
I wasn't entirely sure that we would see many of these around because it's so cold, but we've got lucky. Hanging upside down, as you do if you're a really large spider with completely disproportionately long legs, relaxing. She was actually really active earlier. I think she was just maintaining her web. It's quite a structure. Now, this is a golden orb, but I'm not sure what species. When we say orb webs or orb weavers, there's many, many different species. And in Australia, they actually like to call them the banana spiders. And I think that is way better than saying golden orbs. Let's just call them banana spiders. Well done, Australians. Such a great name. Oh. But of course, due to winds, wear and tear, weathering, insects, birds, we have to maintain the web. So it's a structure that, going back to that question on nests, some birds make new nests every single time, and some birds reuse them. With the banana spiders, they actually have the same web throughout the entire season. But of course, unless an elephant walks right through it and they have to start again, they use the same location, the same web, and they just maintain it. So she's going to continually pull out that beautiful silk, Rapunzel silk, and continually make sure her web is strong enough. If it's not strong enough, she's not going to be able to eat. They don't hunt, they don't ambush, they don't stalk, they lie and wait until something flies into the web. And although it looks really flimsy, it's not at all. It's made from amino acids, which are of course the building blocks of protein. And the two primary amino acids are glycine and alanine for spider webs. And they can produce 7 different types of silk. So it's not all the same, it's not equal. There's actually 7 separate types of silk that spiders can produce. And they're used in many different ecological ways. They don't all have the same function. Some will be very thin, some will be very thick, some will be very sticky. Imagine being that gorgeous girl over there, and starting this huge web from scratch. In your mind and her sort of central nervous system, she's going to have to map out that entire web and then produce it whilst hanging upside down in the air. Definitely don't think that's a task that humans would be good at. Are we able to get closer to our lower abdomen, Avi?
It's a bit windy.
It's a bit windy. Just want to try and see if we can show you the hole where the silk comes out. I think you can see it. Right at the very, very end of that large bulbous body, so it's actually the top part because she's upside down, you'll see holes. Not just one, but there's actually many different holes, and these are called spinnerets. Or that's the visible part. The spinnerets are the visible part. And that's where the silk comes from. So she uses her front legs to pull the silk out from her lower abdomen. How fascinating is that? And they usually have 8 spinnerets. And they come in pairs. But that's not all across the board. I mean, they say that most spiders have 8 eyes. Yes, some do, but not all. But normally you'll find that the web-producing spiders have 8 spinnerets. But they can have anywhere between 2 to 8, depending on what webs they produce. And of course, the golden orb webs produce incredible structures, so they have more spinnerets. I am Kenneth. You're asking about spiders always making their webs facing north. I have never heard that before. Have you, Dobby? No, I haven't, I must say. And I don't believe this individual, this golden orb, she's not facing north. I would say her head is facing northeast. I'm not sure I can expand on that, Kenneth. I've really honestly never heard that before. I'm not sure if it's a myth or not. But this girl here is definitely not facing north. Her web is sort of going from northwest to southeast in that direction. But going back to the glands, depending on the sort of complex structure that the spider produces and the size of the spider, these specialized spinnerets are going to range in terms of complexity as a structure. So sometimes there'll just be a really, really simple sac with an opening at one end, which is the gland, the spinneret that we can see. And sometimes they'll be really, really complex, and they'll have lots and lots of different ampullae. So it really depends on what species you're looking at. But I think we're going to let this girl hang in the wind, enjoy her day, and see what else we can find.
Founded in 1973, the Endangered Wildlife Trust has consistently and effectively worked towards achieving our conservation legacy. Contribute to this legacy by visiting EWT's Get Wild eShop and purchase products with a purpose.
The reason why we see that wildebeest by himself is because he's a male, or a bull, as we typically would call him. And what he does is that he marks and defends an area. Essentially, he is looking for the ultimate piece of land or prime property. Needs to have good grazing, needs to have a water source close by. And not too far away from here, there's a sickle bush thicket that would provide just enough shelter from the wind and the rain.
My name is Ross, and I'm a field guide at and Beyond Pinder Private Game Reserve. I love getting questions from guests on Wild Earth because I love sharing and learning information about nature with new people, and it also makes me feel like you're all joining me in real life. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, go to our live safari page and submit your question below our live feed.
Look at this, the little one is up and about. certainly hasn't had enough milk at this age. No amount of milk is enough. Oh, Corky. Too sweet. Oh, look at this. That is stunning.
Tune into Wild Earth every single day. It's in your nature.
Hi everyone, my name's Daniel Fisher and I'm going to be your guide this afternoon. What is my favorite animal and why? I think I'd have to say a lion. Being able to try and follow them and understand their movements and dynamics is super interesting. People often underestimate them and think that they sleep all the time, but once they get up and start moving around, they are fascinating to watch, and watching them interact with one another is a super highlight for me. If I can pass on this passion and this enthusiasm for lions and prides of lions into a guest that's sitting at home, that's what I'm really going for.
All right, so welcome back everybody. And yeah, right in front of us we have an elephant bull busy drinking there. And, Craig and myself thought, maybe let's sit it out a little bit and get a bit patient and see what else might come to have a drink. And then all of a sudden we just saw this bull coming down to have a drink. And also just looking at his tusks, quite massive as well. And this boy got some good genes there. So it's not sort of strange to find bulls by themselves, and this happens quite often. And this bull, when he was youngest, probably was, in a very big herd or smallish herd. And when Richie is about 14 to 15 years old, he would have been kicked out of the herd, and then he lived a nomadic life. And he possibly, came across some other bulls that were in the same predicament as him, and they just keep each other company. But every now and then break away to do their own thing. Just look at him, just wondering, he's not drinking anymore. Welcome, Lisa. Yeah, those tusks are absolutely beautiful. I mean, the size of them, incredible. And I was just earlier on just looking at the tusk that is on the right hand side. It looked like it was worn down quite a lot in comparison to the other one. So elephants, just like humans, with humans it's either you left-handed or right-handed. So same as elephants, they will use, there's one tusk rather that they use more to take off bark, to break branches, and sometimes even to horn the ground. And that's how they get those tusks to wear down. I think I'm going to continue sitting with this elephant and just see where he leads us. But for now, I think I'm going to send you to our other location.
We have found some lion tracks, but then we came across this watering hole, and there is quite a few white-breasted cormorants that are flying all over the place. That one just went over the trees. There's one coming over the watering hole now, and they all seem to be carrying a lot of nest building material, and they're coming down and coming to build some of their nests there. You can see one flying there. Look at those wing flaps, so quick. And you can see the white breast, where the name comes from, the white-breasted cormorant, and disappears over the trees there. Lots of them coming over from all over the place with nest building material, coming and building their nests inside those dead trees that are standing in the water there. Incredible. If you look at this watering hole, this is all rainwater from the last couple of years or so that have filled this thing up, and a lot of it from this year that has filled it up. That one's soaring a little bit. And oh, not the best landing, but a landing nonetheless. Quite a few of them sitting all over the place there. You can see how cloudy it is here. It's a nice and cool day with the wind also blowing over the water here, and the mountain there in the background. Quite a beautiful spot. We were hoping to come here and see if there were any animals around, but with there being so much rain, there's quite a bit of water all over the place. Stella, you're saying that's a new one for your bird list? I'm so glad to hear that. Look at Odie just keeping them in frame there. There you can see them all perched together, and you can see the nests in between on all the little corners and V's in the trees there. One right in the back there. So see, that tree has actually quite a few white-breasted cormorants on it. I wonder if... Oh, there's one actually giving a little bit of like branches or something to one that's sitting inside the nest. If you look at the top middle right hand side of that big tree there, there's one sitting inside the nest that's actually busy moving the nest building material and the branches and stuff around. So it's trying to reposition all those leaves and branches, trying to make a nice cup for the eggs. Andela, you're asking why the white-breasted cormorants are building their nest in the winter. So we technically still in like a little bit of autumn, but remember we just came out of our rainy season here, so there's lots and lots of water around. So they are building their nests because they are probably going to start to breed soon. See some of them going and landing in the trees there. Quite a bit of pruning and stuff happening, preening their feathers and just getting ready for the day. Lots of adults flying around and going and fetching the nest building material. They often breed in like big colonies like this, and I suppose it's so that if a predator or something comes in, strength in numbers, maybe if you are lucky it won't be you that get caught by the predator or so. So yeah, in KZN specifically, these white-breasted cormorants, they are building their nests because they generally start laying their eggs around February to July, sometimes as late as September and October. So basically they do lay their eggs and build their nests throughout the whole of the winter here in KZN. I suppose it's because we are fairly tropical here. So it's never too cold in this particular area, whereas like in the Lowveld or up towards the Kruger National Park, there it gets very, very cold. There, one's just broken a branch off, and there goes with the branch. Where is he flying to? Oh, that branch almost looks like a little bit heavy for him. Doing a nice big loop back up towards the nest, so let's see where he goes with it. Straight there, let's see if he gives it to one that's lying in the nest. There we go, handing it over. And see how the individual there in the nest is now just placing it nicely, trying to wriggle it into a little spot to make the structure even stronger. But I think we are gonna stick around for now and we'll see what else comes down to the water.
Not sure what's happened. Devot was still linking.
So we're trying to keep up with Kalamba. It's been nothing short of a mission this morning. She's just walking so quickly and we've literally just lost her in like the last second. I don't know what went. She was moving and then all of a sudden she's gone. Which is typical of her. The last I saw her was near a termite mound here. And then she just disappeared from there behind a bush. I couldn't see her. So I don't know if she's just turned somewhere here. She's going deep into Torchwood now. She's almost on the same path that Tundi took last night when we left Tundi. Similar sort of area. I'm just trying to do a slightly wider loop in case she kind of turned, but I mean, she shouldn't have gotten too far in that time, although this is Kalamba we're talking about. It's much like Tundi, just disappears on you before you even know it. Especially if she's, you know, smelt something, was looking for something, then she can be quite quick in her movements. But I don't see her anywhere here. She must have gone through already, and we've just missed her. So also the problem is her movement today is erratic at best. She's like east, west, north, south. She's not holding a line when she's walking, which is making keeping up with her difficult, because you kind of head in a direction you think she's traveling, and then all of a sudden she just loops and changes completely. So I don't know if maybe she just turned on herself and... Oh, there she is. I've got it. Yeah, I've got it in Charlotte. I've got it this side. She's on my left here, trying to... I don't know if a little bit away. Sorry, Import, you alright, buddy? Import's getting a baptism of fire back to work. I had a brief view of her. I don't know where she's gone from here now. She's just in... she's in front here. There we go. I'll spot it, Import. Thank you. Just trying to get to her. No, they do, Leopard Lover. They do scent mark, but it's just that her movements are just different in that she's ranging far and she's not going back to the same point. So when they scent mark, when they've got cubs, they do much smaller loops and then they go back to the cub and then they go and scent mark and go back to the cub. But she's doing like the whole kind of property in one evening, one day. I mean, if I show you how far we've traveled already this morning, he was found close to Treehouse Dam, but on the southern side around the fire break area this morning. And we are now, basically, she was at the Mulawanini. So she's literally just striding her way through the bush, which is not that normal for a leopardess that's got cubs, unless she's on the trail of something that's possible, or she feels like there's intruders that can also trigger her to walk quite fast. So yeah, I don't really know what's happening with her. I honestly don't know if the cub is okay or not. You know, these are all just speculations, and it's not to try and incite like worry in everybody, but the reality is that our job out here is to interpret the signs that we see. And the signs that I see are concerning, because it's not her normal kind of thing that she's been doing over the past few weeks. You know, when I first got here, she was elusive. We weren't seeing her tracks. We weren't finding a lot of signs of Kalamba. But in the last few days, we're finding her tracks all over the place. And she's walking big distances. And like I say, her stomach just doesn't seem like it. You know, it looks like it's changed a little bit, but I might be wrong. I might be completely off base and have read the signs wrong. It's a subjective opinion from me, because, well, I'm just seeing what I see and thinking out loud. You guys are along for the journey just as much as we are. Whew, Kalamba, you're making us work today. It's been hectic following her through the bush today. You can see she's not stopping at all. She just is marching like this. She just disappears behind grass all the time. She's already long gone, going past those bushes there. So stopping with her is like, it's got to be quick and, you know, get her on camera for 2 seconds and she's gone again. What we've been doing is just this, just trying to keep up with her. And unfortunately, she just walks at a speed that is so fast, it's difficult for us. I'm hoping there's a mountain. I'm hoping that we can... there we go, she's just in front of us. Let's see if we can get one last view of her, because I don't think we're going to get signal for much longer. I think she's going to disappear into an area where the signal is going to go from under our feet, unfortunately. So let's see, maybe she'll go up the mountain for us. I don't think so, though. Anyway, in the meantime, let's send you across to Trico and see how he's doing.
Thank you, Tristan. and welcome back to everybody. So we still are looking for this leopard. And as we drove, there was this one section just behind us. As we drove past, there was a bit of interesting smell. It sort of smelled like a popcorny smell, like burnt popcorn. So we know there are two animals that when they scent mark, you have that sort of popcorny smell. So your leopards, when they scent marking, and your genets. But I've been looking on the road as well. I haven't seen any tracks of indication that there might be a leopard around. So I would think possibly a genet scent marking. So there's an open clearing where we're going. Also gonna go there and have a stop and scan around and see what else we can find there. Leopard lover, welcome. I'm glad you can join us. Have I seen the white Birminghams lately? Leopard lover, yes, I have. I think I've seen them like 2 days ago. And Craig and myself were like so excited because we found them and wanted to show you guys. But we had a bit of signal issues then, or technical issues then, so we couldn't really show you guys. But yes, I have seen them. Some impalas right in front of us, feeding away. So this is the area. I'll just pull over somewhere here, and I'm gonna do a little bit of a scan around. I mean, the grass is quite dead. I mean, it's brown in color, or tonish in color. And even if there are some other animals here, if they're laying down, it'll be quite difficult to see them. So it's good. Oh, there's the impala. To switch off and have a nice scan around. All right, I think I'm gonna stop here. I already see an animal in the distance. I think I'm gonna just stop here for a bit. Right, I think I'm gonna do a little bit of a scan and see if I may find anything exciting.
Do you dream of an African holiday in unparalleled luxury? Where your days are spent in the company of wildlife and cooling off in your very own plunge pool? Well, this month's prize may be the one for you. Expertly camouflaged into the unspoiled environment of the world-famed Sabi Sand Game Reserve, it's hard not to fall in love with Simbambili. Sign up to be a Wild Earth explorer before the end of May, and you and a friend could be jetting off to this ultimate escape from reality. A luxurious safari and spa getaway wrapped up in one impressive package. Wild Earth explorers, it's in your nature. For many years, Wild Earth has taken viewers from around the world to the Mara Triangle, a place of majestic beauty and abundant wildlife. But it wasn't always like this. Before 2001, it was infested with poachers. Illegal harvesting and hunting was rife. Now the situation couldn't be more different. The hard work and dedication of the Mara Conservancy has revolutionized this magical land. But now, the loss of revenue from tourism has created a grave crisis. The Mara Conservancy needs help if they are to continue protecting the reserve and supporting the local communities whose livelihood depend on its survival.
I love being a cam op for Wild Earth. The animals coming right up close to you, especially like lions. Sometimes you get nervous, but you have to go with the flow. My favorite animal to film is the elephant because of how big it is. But when it's really up close to you, it's one animal that you would say, I really respect you.
Welcome back, everybody. Terribly sorry about any comms issues we might be having. I don't know if the wind is playing a factor in that, but we found a lovely little track in the sand, one I have discussed before, but one we don't often get to see as clearly as the one we have right now here in the red sands of Brylands. Let me just get my little stick. So first of all, here is the size. It's not very big, it's only about 4 centimeters, but what you can clearly see is quite deep toe indentations in the sand, and that is after the rain. Once again, you can see that it's damaged the muddy crust. Here is another track going in the opposite direction, 1, 2, 3, and almost as if there is another foot behind from a hopping animal. This is the track of a scrub hare that you don't often get to see such a track unless it's in mud or in very soft sort of ground. Sand, it just leaves a little indentation like that, almost as if you saw somebody walking with socks. You wouldn't really actually see the track. But very characteristic tracks of the scrub hare in the sand. This is kind of what you'll see, this bounding formation. You get sort of a T or a Y formation, or a 7, depends how you want to look at it. But what we're looking at now in the sand, a very nice sort of idea of how you can see how the toes dig in like that with their little nails. And it's not easy to see like this, but very characteristic, and there's no other animal that kind of resembles this track. Sometimes, though, when you find a scrub hare track in certain substrates, you might misinterpret it as a small antelope, such as a duiker or an impala. But once again, we've also got some dung to show you the difference between a scrub hare on the left and a small antelope on the right. Now, the antelope dung, very, very hard. Still quite green inside. The scrub hare track dung, very, very soft and very good for testing wind direction. Now, obviously, scrub hares are browsers, or should I say grazers for the most part. They'll be hopping along in this little river basin here, looking for exactly these types of little grass forbs, little grasses here, a little bit of munching happening over here. Perfect habitat. Scrub hares are very, very common in the region, and we see them all the time in Djuma, here as well at night. They are nocturnal, they're spending their days underneath the bush, hidden away from predators. One of their major predators would be large birds of prey and owls, and obviously we know leopards and large cats like them as well. So plenty of scrub hares around, and really nice to see a little indentation in the sand like that. But you can see the two different tracks there, one going that way, one going that way. Tammy Lee, age 8. Well, hares and rabbits are very similar in many regards, but they're also very different as well. Hares breed just in a little bush. The baby is born with fur on it, their eyes open, and they're able to move around almost from birth, whereas rabbits are born in holes in the ground. They are completely naked, they are blind, and they are reliant on their parents for all of their parental care for I'm not sure exactly how long, but scrub hares or hares are born what we call precocial. They're able to move around quite quickly, and hares, rabbits are what we call altricial, which means they are very, very, very useless at a young age, just like birds in a nest. They're born naked and blind and just go like this trying to get food, whereas our ground nesting birds, such as guinea fowl and franklin chickens, are able to pop out of the egg and sort of just move around. So it's a very, very useful strategy of being able to breed a little bit quicker, and also having an animal that's able to move around and look after itself from the early stages. Okay, Well, we're going to see if we can find you some more tracks in the sand, because it seems to be that kind of morning for tracks, and I think Glenn might have found one already. But we'll come back to that track on our next segment and see if maybe you can guess it, because I think it's going to be quiz time. But let's send you over to Trico, who seems like he's on the move.
Welcome back, everybody. So we are also looking for tracks as well. We haven't been very lucky. But I think for me, the searching part, is the exciting part. Otherwise it would be boring if you knew where these animals will be, Oh, there's a bird flying. Let's see if maybe we can get it for you guys. Yo. Nah, it just flew right behind the tree there. Maybe it'll come around? Nah. Awesome. So as I said earlier on, it's quite windy today. So you see some of these big raptors flying around. So what we just saw there is a Patsalia, a juvenile one, as it's still browner in color. It's flying around, scanning for any potential food that it can find. And with this animal that we're looking for, we always look for fresh tracks, tracks that are very recent, early this morning. Those are the tracks that we're gonna follow. But for now, I think I'm gonna quickly just send you over to our other location. I think they have something interesting there.
One of my favorites. At one of my favorite water bodies as well. I think we're getting ready to hunt. I could be wrong, but it's that time of morning. I'm also hungry. Perched very delicately on that branch, but looking down. And the amazing thing about pied kingfishers is that their eyes are very specialized. So if you think about it, us humans are very terrestrial. We are not born or adapted or specialized in being underwater. Some of us are more skilled than others. But either way, we need a mask to be able to see. We need equipment to be able to breathe. But if you're a kingfisher, pied kingfisher, you specialize in eating fish. So you're going to sit on a branch like this and look down. You've got very keen eyesight so you can see the movement of the fish below. But what happens when you dive into the water? Do you just close your eyes and hope for the best? I'm not entirely sure that's going to work for every pied kingfisher. So their eyes are actually specialized for correcting the refraction from going in air, terrestrial, to underwater. It's completely different in terms of the refraction of light and to be able to gauge depth. So the pied kingfisher can completely adapt for that. So they're able to determine the exact position of the fish underwater. They can also make last-minute adaptations. Oh, we've got two. I'm going to guess this is the male and the female. So as soon as the fish realizes, there's a predator coming in from above and starts to move, the pied kingfisher's eyes make last-minute adaptations, and then they're still able to see their target. They've gone from being sort of above water to underwater in a split second, and their eyes immediately adapt to that. So what happens is that they close a really special transparent eyelid, and this is called the nictitating membrane. Many species have this, even crocodiles. They close it, and when they open it, it helps to change that sort of gauge of the depth of field, if you like, and the refraction of light, and they're able to follow the prey. And that's why they're such successful hunters. And that really is remarkable. Us humans cannot do that. If you ever jump into a body of water, a swimming pool, a lake, an ocean, and try to open your eyes, especially in the ocean, it's really not that pleasant. You can see-ish, marginally, but you can't focus. You definitely can't hunt. You definitely can't be accurate. Whereas these guys, they're very specialized at it. You see? They're looking for movement or a shimmer underwater. Leah, yes, I know, I wish I could do that. I can barely walk in a straight line. I'm always tripping over my own feet, but these birds, look at the way they're just balancing. Not only are they sort of fighting their own body weight, they're also battling against the wind today. That can't be easy. Oh, thank you for turning around. We should be able to... Oh, here we go. Oh, we thought about it there. We were getting ready to hunt. Last minute diversion. Not sure what happened. I think we have got the male and female here. They're really easy to tell apart. The female just wears a dicky bow tie, and the male wears a dicky bow tie and his shirt collar. So he has two lines around his neck. So this is a female. You see her little dicky bow tie? I got my malachite the last time I was here. I was very, very happy. I've been looking for a malachite kingfisher for so long. Are you going to hunt for us this morning, Missies? And of course, most birds have hollow bones. They're very lightweight, and that's so that they can balance like that. Lily Pan, there's definitely no crocodiles in this water body, and I think most birds or individuals will be aware of where the threats lie, but you also see pied kingfishers at Chitwa Dam all the time, and there definitely are crocodiles there. But they're in and out the water so quickly, really so quickly. And you've also got to remember that they can see incredibly well. So they rely heavily on their vision. They're primarily visual. And therefore, when they look down and scan the water to see the fish, they most likely would be able to see a crocodile. So although crocodiles are incredible opportunistic ambush hunters, they also are slightly slow. If you think about it, the pied kingfisher is in the water for a very, very short time. We're not having any luck with the fish this morning, though, are we? This has to be the coolest looking bird. You see it scanning very carefully. You can see everything from up there. It's very difficult to choose, but I always say that I think the kingfisher family is my favorite family of birds, if I had to choose. Oh. And of course, the pied kingfisher not only has those specialized eyes, they are also the hoverers. Not quite hummingbird level. They don't use the same technique as hummingbirds, but they are hoverers all the same. Another thing that makes them incredible fishermen. No, where are you going? Have they both disappeared, Davi? This is the quietest pan now, which is rather sad. It used to be the noisiest pan, and by a long shot. Winter is here. The weavers have disappeared, and most of the migrant birds have disappeared, actually, which is rather sad. So we're going to keep bumbling through the blustery conditions, and for now we're going to send you across to Steve.
Well, everybody, welcome back to Tracks in the Sand. It's not very easy to see this track. Let's have a look at it a little bit closer, shall we, Glenn? The light is not great this morning, so probably not the best day to be doing tracking, but it is what is it. Oh, look at that sky, Glenn. Isn't it just getting better and better? Look at that. Sorry, everybody, we're going to come back to the track on the ground, but we've got God's fingers coming through the clouds again, very Renaissance-esque. Many of the paintings painted in the Renaissance you find in Florence have got those little touches of golden white light coming through the clouds, and they've always been deemed God's fingers. Wow, that's quite special. Very special, although it's very cold. It's very special nonetheless. Okay, let's go back down onto the ground now that we've had a moment in the sky. And this track is one that will confuse many. Now there's visibly 1, 2, 3, and 4 toes, and then a pad over here which almost looks like it could be 3 lobes, but it's quite straight at the back here. Here is a lot of negative space between the toe and the back pad, and almost looks like there's claws, but there's not. Without really knowing, without seeing the animal, it'd be hard to 100% give this an answer. And this would probably be a level 3 in a tracking quiz, in a tracking assessment. But this negative space from over there to over there, it looks like a small hyena. It looks like possibly a medium-sized cat. But myself personally, I think it is a young baboon with the toes. Just the way it was walking in the muddy ground, it wasn't walking the typical way baboons walk, and so it's left a very different imprint. But this huge negative space over here would be the way to look for. Mongoose would be very clearly marked with the toes and the symmetrical, non-symmetrical sort of angle. Not a jackal, definitely not, because the toes are cutting when you put an X through there, and the back pad here doesn't have 3 lobes or 2 lobes. It seems to just be flat. So I'm going to go with a young baboon, but it's actually very difficult to say without physically having seen the animal. Let's go and have a look at the other track, because remember, everybody, when an animal walks, they don't just stand and then disappear. They come along a line, don't they? So let's go see the other track and see how different it is. Oh, that was a long time on my ankle. Have another look at this one. Vicky, you can tell if an animal's injured based on its track. Not when you've just got 2 tracks like this. Can you see now how the toes are forming? Like the finger is forming over there now and over there. But the ground is quite muddy when it stepped here. So this is the same animal. You don't see the same nail marks that we saw before, and a very strange looking bit of appendage. This is probably even the different foot, maybe even the back foot, whereas the other one was the front foot. So Vicky, when an animal is injured, for example, Darkmane's got that broken foot. We saw that lion track I showed you before. The lion track, they normally put their foot down like that. Not that a lion uses its whole hand, but you get that full version, but he's sort of sitting like that on the track. So you're not getting the full perspective of his foot because he's not really putting it down properly. Animals might drag their foot. You might see the dragging on the ground as an animal walks. You might also see the inability for them to register properly. You might even see blood spoor but definitely a limp can be quite evident. The expert trackers out there can tell you the age, the size, the sex of an animal, whether they're pregnant, by the way that they walk. I'm nowhere near in that category, so I'm not even going to pretend. So by looking at this track now, this is I'm almost 100% certain that that's a baboon. The other one there would have been a level 3 question. Many people would have probably guessed it incorrectly, but this is how we learn. But you can see how over there is a longer toe. And once again, that negative space. Let me get my book out. I forgot the baboon. Baboon 256. Going to put it the same direction. So when you see the toes, you get these much longer toes over there. When they're putting their full hand down, they don't always do that. They don't always leave a mark, a perfect mark like that in the sand. Let's see if there's another one. No. So this book's not going to give me the best answer, but possibly this one over here is going to give us with those longer toes there. This is in proper mud. And you get the back of the foot is very, very straight. This one is quite straight. The toes are quite long. But end of the day, everybody, without physically seeing the animal having stepped here, nature has some mysteries in store for us every day. And sometimes you just have to go and say, I'm not 100% sure, but almost certain this is a baboon. But you never know without physically seeing it walk here. Well, we're going to walk into this beautiful sunrise. I will send you over to Lauren, who's got something in a tree.
I don't know if anyone's been checking on this little battle-ear chick, but I have came straight here, and I think the chick is there. I may need the help of your eyesight, which I'm sure is collectively definitely better than mine. But maybe I'm imagining things. I really thought I saw a few brown feathers fluffing about in the wind, but to be honest, in these conditions, the chick's probably very much nestled in the middle, in the center of that nest. Is that a chick, Davy? I mean, there's a high chance I'm going crazy. Maybe FC can help us. Just to the right of the center, there's something brown there, but I don't know if it's just vegetation or a chick. What do you think, FC? Ah, there we go. That's feathers. Yes, that's feathers. Thank you, Davy. You are there. Mama Lauren is back. Auntie Lauren is back. So today's definitely not going to be a good day to get a good view of this chick, but I just think it's so wonderful that we have another chick to follow after having Sebwig, Olivia, which unfortunately was a sad story. We got to see the Wahlberg chicks a little bit. Now we have a battle-ear chick. And although the nest is very, very high up in the snowthorn, we still do have the chance to view it. And it's going to get bigger and bigger. And one of my most favourite sightings from my last stint was watching Mom come and feed the chick and seeing the two of them together. Yes, that's definitely a chick. Probably terrified of this weather. No wonder. But it's going to be in the nest for some time. I mean, we saw it for the first time maybe 3 weeks ago now. Lucy, you're saying I'm so glad to see it's still alive. I know, me too. I wasn't sure if it had been seen, so I thought I'm going to come down here and check. But it's definitely still there. It's just hiding from the really, really horrible wind. Rain is fine, sun is fine, but when you add wind, woo, It's definitely not my favourite. But yes, I think this chick could only maximum, judging on how often we were checking the nest, because we saw Mum was incubating, I think this chick is around the 4-week mark. I could, of course, be wrong, because it's quite a deep nest. So when Mum was sitting there, the chick essentially could have hatched. It was just obviously very small. But just from her behaviour and from what we could see, it looked like she was incubating. And they do only lay 1 egg at a time. So it's a high level of maternal and paternal investment from both parents. And then when we first started to see the chick, I'm pretty sure it's newly hatched. So I'm going to go with around the 4-week mark. It's a long incubation period. It's an incubation period of 55 days. It's almost 2 months, which is quite long for a bird. So she was sitting on this nest day after day. But normally the adults will visit frequently during the day. They're highly diurnal. And they will not only, of course, hunt for themselves, but they will also feed the chick. And if I am correct in saying the 4-week mark, then both parents will still come. Someone's telling us to go away. Do you hear that? Go away! But we're not going to go away. But they say after week 7, the parental attendance drops to on average 25%. So that's a loss of 75%. The parental attendance drops completely. I don't think we're at that stage yet. So by 7 weeks, there has to be quite a remarkable development for the chick to sustain itself. The 75% parental attendance drop. I don't think we're going to get much more of a better view than that, but it's still wonderful to know that it's still there. I'm going to check on this little one every single day. Oh, my heart is happy. The little chick is here. So we're going to continue bumbling the blustery reserve and see what else we can find for you all.
When on safari, there's nothing better than an evening spent under the stars chatting around a fire, with the sounds of the wild all around you. If you sign up to be a Wild Earth Explorer, you can build your own memories by joining our guides for regular fireside chats. Subscription payments can be made by PayPal, credit card, and now bank transfer. Wild Earth Explorers, it's in your nature.
Converging game path will invariably lead you to a water source, but treat all water as suspect. One of my favorite ways of purifying water is to filter out the particulates. And by just filtering it through your sock, you can clear out most of those. You can put water into a snail shell and you can boil it over a fire or using a chemical like chlorine or colloidal silver.
My name is Taylor McCurdy and I work for Eco Training. I love hearing from all of the viewers. However, I particularly enjoy those of you who have been watching for a few years. Your questions are just so advanced and they really get me thinking. If you'd like to ask a question on Wild Earth, you need to register on our website. Once you've done that, head to the Live Safari page and submit your questions below the live feed.
The croc is still holding another one there. It's holding from the hindquarters. I would really want the wildebeest cross. Is it trying? The croc is holding the tail. It's holding tight. Oh no. Goodness me. Lucky, lucky wildebeest. You have another day to leave.
Expect the unexpected here on Wild Earth daily.
Africa is very special, and when you come down here, even when you're watching through our camera, the landscapes change from desert to bushveld to up in the Masai Mara where there's grassland. That means that the biodiversity changes as we move along Africa. And what I love most about connecting with you guys is the fact that I get to share these wonderful experiences with thousands of people.
Catch up with the guides daily here on Wild Earth.
Well, we've unfortunately left Kalamba. She's just gone way too far east for us now and down towards the Mulawanini. So we can't kind of keep up with her any further. On the interesting note is that we did follow her through that block where we had Thandi and Marips and then Thandi looking for him in the afternoon. And she found a tree where there had been a kill. And there was a few bones on the ground and she ate those. So I wonder if that's not where Marips was last night and why he didn't respond to Mom. It's not very far from where she was calling yesterday and making a bit of a fuss. So I wonder if he caught something small and just ate it there and dropped a bone, and Kalamba came across it and she sniffed a lot there, scent marked, and then she found these bones in the grass and ate them. So maybe that's what's happened and why Marips wasn't responding yesterday. Anyway, what we're doing now is just doing a slow kind of loop around, just to try and see if I can find any tracks for her or Thandi. For Thandi or him. Sorry. And figure out maybe if they've crossed onto Djuma side, or if they went to Chitwa side, or if they came back into Torchwood. When I went past the kill this morning, it was just a mess of hyena and leopard tracks absolutely everywhere there. So I wasn't really sure which way they went, and a few vehicles had driven over it already, which made it quite tricky to understand what's actually happened, and particularly because the leopard tracks were going up and down, and it required a little bit of kind of time spent there. But we had then obviously Kalamba and long distance view of another leopard crossing, and so I didn't get out and actually look. So I'm just slowly heading in that direction again, in the hope that maybe I picked them up. Excuse me, lots of dust in the air today with all the wind. So yeah, we'll see. Maybe we get lucky, maybe we don't. Doesn't matter. Either way, we've had a really cool morning. It's been nice to follow Kalamba for an extended period of time. I know for you guys it'll feel quite short, but we've been with her now for almost 2 hours, so it was pretty cool to follow her around. Leopardova, it's possible. I just don't think she would want to go this side with a cub. So if she wanted to find a new den site, for me, this is just heading into trouble. Where she is in the Mulawati is the right place for her. There's lots of areas. She could also go up towards Galago, shortcut side, or even come a little bit east towards the Nyala Road drainages. But, this side is dangerous. Interestingly enough, I don't know if you guys remember the other day I was talking about tracking a leopard and it went to Gwen, the hyena's old den. And I was saying that I'm always a bit nervous around holes in termite mounds when leopards walk there, because especially if you have a leopard that has cubs, as much as we like to think we know which tracks we're talking about, there's always a hypothetical to that. And as we've seen with Kalamba today, she's walking exactly where Thandi walks, or walked last night. So you can never be too sure with tracks, but if you have a leopard in the area that has got cubs and the track goes towards a mound and there's a hole in that mound, always better to exercise caution. So I was saying that I didn't go and actually check where she went from there, and I just kind of brushed it off as I didn't think Kalamba would go there. But interestingly enough, today she went to the exact same mound, so I'm now 99% convinced that track the other day was hers. And she went from the mound, she went straight in to that hole, and she sniffed around there, and then she looked around and snarled at a squirrel, and then she kind of scent marked at that hole and then walked off. But she didn't call or chuff or anything like that, so I'm pretty sure there's no cub in there. It's just her checking it out. All right, let's carry on. In the meantime, let's send you across to Steve, who's apparently got something very cool to show us.
Thanks, Tristan. Well, I really hope that little Miss Kalamba is okay. Everything's good. We found something quite interesting in the sand over here, which has been semi-buried. Almost looks like dung beetles or something has been burying a little owl pellet. You see all this fur here from rodents, from a shrew or something that an owl has eaten. Now, a number of owl species will feed on a rodent, the entire rodent, and then will throw up or regurgitate a little ball. See the little bone shards there? Look at this little jawbone. Can you see that, Glenn? See those teeth? I don't really know the different shrews and rodents that they could be eating, but there you can see that front sharp tooth, and then all the little molars over there, and then lots of bone shards over here. I'm using my knife because I don't want to actually physically touch all of this. There's a leg bone. This looks like a hip bone or something, scapula. All of this fur from one individual. It could be more than one as well. Little ribs. Tiny little ribs. More bones. Really nice to deconstruct these little pellets. All of those bones. I took an owl pellet apart last year or the year before, and I think I found maybe 6 different jaw bones in one pellet, which was quite incredible. Look at all these bones. Oh, there's more. And so the owl would have regurgitated the pellet, probably sitting here on the ground, and there we go. There's another jawbone. Critter Freak, what a lovely name. What a question or comment to be said by Critter Freak, because we got a pellet full of critters here. Lots of fur and fluff. I'm sure someone will be able to identify the actual composition of this animal that was inside. Look at all of that. It's so much fur, so much fluff, but has been partially buried. So we always talk about nutrient recycling, always talk about the remains of animals going back into the soil, and this will eventually be decomposed back into the soil. Although being out here in this exposed sandy area, the sun bakes down on the ground here quite heavily, and so you get a very limited number of microorganisms that can actually live in the exposed sandy area. When you have a bit of dung or you have a bit of shade, you'll have a lot more sort of microorganisms that can actually live in this topsoil layer. But the sun gets so hot, it actually denatures or kills anything trying to live close to the surface. So it'll take a bit longer. We find that out in the deserts, things can stay undecomposed for a very long time due to the fact that it's very dry and very hot, and so you don't get the microorganism decomposition that you would have. Look at that, there's still more coming. That is one enormous regurgitation. There goes another jawbone. See the teeth. Very small little fellows. I love these little things. These little tracks and signs, everybody, are fascinating to show you that things have been out and around. Jackson, well, this hasn't been buried by the owl. This pellet itself was regurgitated by an owl, and something has buried it. I'm not sure exactly what it could have been. But what animals bury their kills, I can't think offhand. I mean, there's a number of animals that will bury their dung. Wildcat, steenbok, serval will bury their scat. But physically burying their dung, you often will find leopards when they find or they have a kill and they've got the stomach contents on the ground. Lions do it as well sometimes. They'll cover sand on top of the stomach content and on top of the stomach lining itself to prevent that smell from wafting away. But that's not necessarily the kill that they cover. Jackal are one actually very, very commonly will bury meat under the ground to come back later. I've seen that a few times where the jackal's gone and taken, I think I had a Thompson gazelle in the Mara, which got 3 parts of it buried in different areas nearby. And the jackal, like any typical dog, bury their bone to know when to come back later, because they could only eat so much in one sitting. But this has just been a pellet that was on the ground, probably just would have been sitting there, and some insects have been trying to bury it. Look at that, it's still coming. All of that. More bones. There we go. Another really large tooth molar. Come on. Look at those teeth there. Really incredible. Deconstructing these things is fantastic. So through these sort of pellet analysis, scientists can actually deconstruct a pellet like this and then actually work out the diet of an owl and find out exactly what the animal is eating. There'd often be insect carapaces in there, like millipedes or beetles, and then there'll also be obviously the easily identified teeth and dentition of rodents. I'm no expert at identifying those dentition of rodents, but many of them have got very characteristic structures. Anyone who knows small mammals would be able to identify, and through that they can actually figure out, like when I look at my bird app and you look at the spotted eagle owl, for example, they'll show you exactly which species are normally found in their diet. Shrews, rodents, field mice and the like. And they will have actually gone and done comprehensive studies exactly on what it was. But from the fur itself, how you'd be able to tell, I wouldn't know. But multiple different organisms in one pellet. So the owl, obviously, birds don't have teeth. So there we go, looks like a bit of a hip or something. They swallow the thing whole, and that which is not digestible, fur and bone, will get regurgitated. And at the same time, just a little bit down the drag, I found what is clearly a fur ball from either a leopard or a lion or even a hyena, potentially. All of this fur that was probably sitting in the stomach. You often find cats and dogs, once they've eaten something, they want to get rid of stuff eating grass, and the grass causes them to regurgitate because this stuff is not digested, and it'll cause them to vomit, and they'll throw this up, these little fur balls onto the ground. There's no bone in there. There often can be bone, depending on what animal it was that was killed, but there's nothing here. I don't know how long this has been around for, but definitely you see the difference in the fur of this versus that. This is very fluffy fur, that is quite sort of hard, sharp looking fur. So who exactly it was, I can't tell you. Well, we're still going to be scratching through some tracks and some dead signs of animals on the ground while Trico is in search for some live animals.
Welcome back, everybody. So, yeah, we earlier on decided to halt our leopard search, thinking maybe to get a little bit more central, look for any opportunities of lions. It has started drizzling now, so we'll just have to drive around and see how the rain does. I mean, if it does rain quite a lot, I mean, these lions that we're looking for, you know, they might try to hunt when the rain is raining like that. Or if they're full, they might not even try to hunt. Just find a bush somewhere, lay down, stay away of the rain. Just like the rest of the animals, as soon as the rain comes down, they just find some cover and rest. I believe, Amanda, you asking, do leopards lose their first litters. And welcome, Amanda. I'm glad that you can join us. So it depends really, Amanda. You know, first mothers, the mothers that are not experienced enough, you know, they tend to lose their youngsters more than leopards that are very much experienced. And I mean, as you can imagine, here in Africa, there's a lot of predators here that do not like each other. Like, for example, you know, your hyenas, if they do find leopard cubs somewhere, they'll definitely kill them and even feed on them. Lions also will do the same. This rain is starting to coming down for quite a bit. I think we're gonna go find some shelter because it's actually raining for quite a bit. And I'll quickly send you over to Lauren.
Rain. Oh, we're not too far away from Ngala. I hope the rain does not come this way. Not really ready for that. Now, Miss Shadulu, our leopardess, our duchess from the west, is in this block somewhere. Now, it's a very large block, so we shall do our very best to try and see if we can locate her. But I often find Shadulu in this block. It's in between power lines and Impala Plains, just for any of you who are interested. And it's a huge block, but she regularly uses it to cross east, more towards Quarantine. So we're just going to check around, drive really slow, see if we can see any spotted patterns moving through the bush. But Shadulu's actually quite a predictable leopardess, I feel, especially in comparison to the likes of Kalamba, who can be quite erratic in her movements. And obviously, Kalamba's new to being territorial in comparison to Shadulu, but Shadulu always takes very, very predictable roads. I'm just going to try scratching around, but if you look through the block like Davi's showing you right now, you can see far. Now, let's just take a month ago, that was not the case. That was not the case at all. So it's going to make following cats a little bit easier now, or even spotting them a little bit easier. It's still thick, but nowhere near as thick as it used to be. Okay, she was mobile, so we're just going to loop around and see. We might turn off our engines as well. It's always a good thing to do. Turn off and listen. Even if you don't hear the animal itself, even if you don't hear the leopard, you may, of course, hear alarm calls, or just anything, really. And that will tell you that the animal is moving in that area. Just want to make sure she's not popped out. Okay, we've had Shadulu over here as well. Shadulu's a very interesting cat. I enjoy her. She's busy. She's a busy lady. But I love when she's here on Duma. I really do. I love that she pushes in from the west. But she ebbs and flows. She, of course, clashes territorial boundary line with Kalamba. No longer Tandy, really. Tandy's moved much far east and south, if you like. But she definitely is next door neighbours with our princess. blow off. It's already blown off a few times already. It's a fantastic hat, but it doesn't want to stay on my head. And Tswalu likes Tswalus, which are termite mounds, and trees. Susanna, I'm not sure I would use the word rivalry. Both male and female, when it comes to leopards, the sexes are driven in terms of survival for different reasons. So they are solitary territorial beings, and the male will set up his territory and sort of push out his neighbors so it becomes as big as possible, and it will encompass as many females as possible. In order to be a successful male, you want to mate with as many females as you can in order to secure sort of more cubs, continue your bloodline, be a very successful leopard. So in terms of females, you set up your territory for resources so that you can reproduce and raise successful litters of cubs. So they set up territories for different reasons, and of course there's always going to be neighbours, there's always going to be competition, and this will constantly change. The territorial boundaries will always change, but in terms of rivalry, they are solitary. So leopards, unfortunately, will never be found together in a big cohesive group of friends, unless it's a mating pair and unless it's mother and cub. So maybe they're all rivals, they're all competing, they all want a bigger territory, they all want sort of the ladies, more ladies the better, and they all want access to the best resources. So it's a constant ebb and flow of competition between the individuals. So I guess it's probably equal for male and female. Sorry, I'm also just trying to listen here. Females have got to compete with other females. They will kill one another's cubs. And Tswalu is actually the perfect example of that. One of Tswalu's cubs was actually killed by a female called Moya. They had a bit of a scrap, and unfortunately she lost a cub that way. So females will compete, and males also will compete. She was seen quite a while ago, so she really could be anywhere, but she was in this block. Okay, we're going to do our very, very best to search for Miss Tswalu here. Wish us luck. Hope we get lucky.
The Endangered Wildlife Trust fights at the forefront of conservation, across the vast Karoo and sweeping grasslands, in remote pockets of forest, along road networks, across African skies, and in communities to conserve our wildlife and wild spaces. Help us to protect forever, together. Donate now at ewt.org.za.
Riverbeds are a great way to find water and look for places where elephant have excavated hollows. You can then dig into the sand, and after a couple of feet you should find damp sand, which then can be squeezed out or siphoned off for water. And with water being one of our scarcest resources, it is a good idea to conserve water where and how you can.
My name is Lauren, and I'm currently working in Djuma Private Game Reserve here in South Africa. I love answering your questions during the live safaris. It's my favorite part. It feels like you're on the vehicle with me, and I'm able to teach you exactly what you want to know. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, you must go to the live safari page and ask your question below the live feed.
Hello, Mama. Just checking us out, everybody. There's no aggression here. Very relaxed. A herd of elephants moving around your car like that. It's truly, truly magical.
Tune into Wild Earth every single day. It's in your nature.
What makes Anbeyond Pinder Private Game Reserve so special is our massive array of habitats. And with that comes, of course, a beautiful diversity of landscapes, but also an incredible biodiversity in terms of plants, bird life and animal life, as well as, of course, our conservation success stories with cheetah, with rhinos, now with pangolins too.
Catch up with the guides daily here on Wild Earth.
No luck so far, but I'm just going to get up to this junction here. I always say it was Hukumuri's junction. I always think of him when I travel this road. But yes, this junction is a really good place just to stop, look and listen. That's like when you were at primary school and you learn how to cross the road. Did you have that, Ravi? Stop, look and listen? Of course. Yeah. But that's exactly what we're going to do at this junction. I feel water droplets. I'm already extremely cold. I did not dress appropriately. Okay, so this is Ala Junction. It crosses with 3 very important roads. Zoe's, Rebecca's, 2 of my very good friends, and Balanites. And it takes you in all different directions. You can either head straight to the hyena den, you can head straight to the west, or you can head straight to the south. And this is, Hukumuri was always on this road, without a doubt. But now I'm afraid they don't see his tracks. But Shudulu uses it. Okay, so we're just going to sit here a little bit longer and listen, see if we can hear anything. But for now, we're going to send you across to my partner in crime, Tristan.
Well, our second spots for the morning, we found our naughty boy from yesterday, Marips. A few little loops around and checking of where that kudu carcass was, and we eventually picked him up not far from where that carcass was, just on the Torchwood side. He's going to go climb a little mound for us, which will be nice. Hopefully he's going to settle down. I'm surprised he's up on a mound. It's so windy today. It's not really nice place for a leopard to sit. Let me just move quickly. Charles, you calling me? Sorry, just on the radio. Just want to check if we go around, if we can get him nicely on the front side of the mound. If he's going to sit for us. I think he is. Hello, my boy. You're naughty. Your mom's going to be very angry with you. Well, she probably has already seen you, though, since we last saw you. And you've probably been shouted at already. For those of you that weren't watching last night, he was called by his mother repeatedly and ignored her to the point where she eventually gave up and went back to her kudu kill just out of frustration. But he's close to it now, so I suspect that he kind of eventually got called by her, and eventually they found each other and he was brought down, but by then the kill was probably taken. His tummy is fuller than we had him yesterday, so I think he was on his own little meal last night, and that's why he didn't respond to Mom. It was only when Mom eventually found him and maybe he finished up his scrub hair, whatever it was that he caught, that he then decided to come back to where Mom was. He is magnificent though, isn't he? Beautiful, beautiful boy. Now, what's interesting, and I'm going to try and see if I can show you this, on his right, above his right eye, I don't know if it's going to come out because it's quite grassy, he's got, it's difficult to see because of the grass. You might just notice above the right eye there's a long whisker that comes out. You can just see it hovering above the ear there and blowing in the wind. Do you see it there? Now, for those of you that are on any of our social media platforms, there is a photo of Mulawati that I posted many moons ago, and he has the exact same thing. One whisker on the right side above the eye that is longer than all the others. It looks like a little antenna that comes up off of their eyes. And I was wondering whether or not that's hereditary. Is that something that maybe was passed on, or is it just a coincidence that these two leopards both have the exact same whisker that is long on top? I've never noticed it in any other leopards. They're normally quite even. But with this particular cat and with what we think is his dad, there is this long whisker above the right eye. Like I said, I posted a photo of Mulawati where you can see it quite clearly, and I'll post one of him too at some point where you can see it clearly as well, and then you can kind of put them side by side. In fact, maybe that's what I'll do for us to be able to see the antennas of these two cats. It's starting to rain now, so I'm not surprised that he's coming down the mount, and see if he's going to go into a little bit of a thicket and away from the rain. But a lot of you are super excited to see him. You can see, look how full that tummy is. It's big and round. He's definitely been eating well, that's for sure. All right, let me go back and get him. I love this cat sometimes because he was close to the main road, and then there was cars that were kind of building up because obviously on the boundary, cars tend to kind of come in. But he kind of just walked up here, hid himself from everybody. Everyone's left, and now he's like, okay. No one will worry me. All right. I didn't hear exactly who you're going to, but I know you're going to Impalas, so hopefully you will enjoy. Apparently not, because Pinder has lost signal, so you are with us still. Let's see if we can find where our boy is. There he is. Which way do you want to go? Are you going to come out here? Let me stop here. Give him a path to come out if he wants to. He's a magnificent little cat though, isn't he? He's getting so chunky these days. It's hard to believe that, you know, we saw him for the first time just over a year ago and he was tiny and fluffy and kind of incapable of doing really anything for himself, and now he's got a little fat tummy and is wandering around on his own and being, you know, a rebel and not really listening to his mother. It's crazy to see how quickly they develop. It's one of the most amazing parts about what we do, is that we get this ability to watch these guys develop and grow and see cubs going from little ones up into adults. All right, onward we go. All right, so I'm going to try to keep up with him. In the meantime, though, let's send you across to Pridelands with apparently something cool to show you guys.
Well done, Tristan. Finding my ribs. What a special young boy that is. Well, everyone, we found a dead snake inside of an elephant track. So we're not quite sure what happened, but it looks like one of our blind snakes. You've got some really nice mottling on the top over here. It's definitely dead, I've checked. But if you look closely at the face over here, there's no eyes, no form of eyes at all. And it looks like it's been squashed, because if I turn it over, there's some sort of there's bleeding from the mouth as well as from the anus. But probably about 12 centimeters long, maybe closer to 15 centimeters. It's possible it was just moving around on the ground and an elephant came along and stood on him. Poor fellow. I'm not even sure which one's the face and which one's the... That looks more like the face now. Ooh, smells a little bit. Let's try to turn that over. It actually looks more like the... Sorry, everyone, he's definitely dead. I just don't want to touch him. I don't touch snakes at the best of times. See if we can just try and get that bit out. He's gone into a bit of rigor mortis. Which one is the face? That one looks like that might be the mouth. What do you think, Glenn? That looked more like a mouth, doesn't it? Then the anus looked very mouthly as well. Still no visible eyes that I can see. Blind snakes are very sort of in the ground, terrestrial snakes. They live in the ground. And, well, this poor fellow is dead. Very sad for him, of course. But you've got to watch where you move around in the wilderness. You never know what might step on your head. Okay, so once again, from our very dead animal to some very active impala.
We've just come across this herd of impala, and the rams now moved off to the right, but they're in the backies. Actually busy mating with quite a few of the females, so the mating season for the impalas are in full swing. See all the females hanging around the ram there in the back, and a lot of youngsters here close by that's not really interested, still young from the previous breeding season. Quite a big herd. Here comes the rams. Here he's opening his mouth and calling and calling and calling. Yo, he's got such beautiful horns. Wow. See how he's actually doing a phlegm and grimace there, so smelling the urine of some of the females and just checking if they are in heat yet or not, trying to pass that smell through the Jacobson's organ in the roof of his mouth. See the youngsters, the young rams from the previous breeding season, that's even trying to mate with some of the females, but obviously still very young. While this ram is chasing his females around, we are going to send you over to Tristan, where he's got a reunion that's about to happen.
Well, I'm not sure if it is, because Tandy's walking away from where Marips is. We had both of them. But not both of them, but we had Tandy here and Marips further back, and I thought they were going to come together, but both are walking now in opposite directions. So maybe Mom has decided to leave Marips and do her own thing. She's going into Chitwa now, and he's kind of behind us, walking parallel with where we are. So we'll try, and I'm not sure which one to stay with at this stage. They're far enough apart that it can kind of be two different sightings. I think if this vehicle is going to stay with her, where he's going to go, we'll just have to try and relocate him. This rain is terrible. It's starting to come down. It's generally not be very pleasant. It's like cold rain. It's not nice. Alright, now I've got to find him again. He was here Did he just get chased by a warthog? He must have. Because there's a warthog right where I just left him. There goes the warthog. Where is he now? But he must have been chased by this warthog because he was right here. And now there's a warthog instead. Let me just check these trees that he wasn't pushed up a tree by. A big warthog like that can sometimes be quite vicious towards towards a leopard. So let's just double check. Either that or he ran from the warthog. In which case it's fine. The other vehicle is with Tanya, so we can try and kind of catch up there. But let's check these marooners here quickly. Nothing here. Oh, Marips, where did you go? So the last time I saw him was here. Maybe he went back north. Must have run off from where that warthog was. I don't see him anywhere here. I had him like 2 minutes ago. It was just we had a brief view of Mom. And then, yeah, I don't know what happened. All right, while I try and find these two again, let's send you across to Steve. Unfortunately, just finished all with it, but yeah.
Well, welcome back. We've got a wonderful little burrow in the ground, and it's just so wonderful to be on bushwalk, to see all the little signs. This is some form of rodent that has burrowed into a little tussock of grass in the same dry riverbed we've been following this entire time. So the grass itself with the roots has enabled a little bit of a bump, a bulge of soil to be accumulated and not moved away with the rain. And a rodent of some sort has buried itself inside there to obviously escape the daytime activity. And all of this digging over here is indication of its burrowing activity. So digging in there, who knows how deep in it goes, but a good indication of why the owls would be around hunting rodents in these dry areas, because there are multitudes of them around. And if we just take a step back and have a look at the landscape, you can just imagine how many of these small little burrows there might be in and around a very wide open landscape such as this one, with a variety of little nooks and crannies. It's not only an ideal setting for leopard or lion to find little homes for their cubs. Multitudes of tiny little things are living on the landscape, and by finding owl pellets and obviously birds of prey, a very good indication of a healthy ecosystem, because they've got quite a wide variety of food sources that they feed on. So very nice to see a little home. We wonder who lives inside. We wonder if it's home. If he's home, she's home, if there's a whole family of them. It doesn't look as if there's too much fresh activity from last night. Sorry, I only got the end of that, Gwen. I just heard Tori's name. If you could possibly repeat the question Tori asked there. But it was possibly one of these members would have ended up in the owl pellet, if that's where Tori's question was going. Tori, how does a body know how to vomit just the fur and bones? Well, Tori, the bones and fur sit on sort of top of the stomach acid inside the stomach, as far as I'm aware. In mammals, they'll sit on top of the stomach acid. It's not actually being digested, and it causes them to vomit. The thing is that when an animal vomits, it vomits everything, doesn't it? There's no sort of discerning what comes out. So that's why when cats or dogs regurgitate, there's often other very smelly things that go with it. So it's possibly something that they do when they're on a bit of an empty stomach and most of the digestion has taken place. So I don't think a cat is able to discern what comes out of its stomach, just as you or I are not able to discern what comes out. When we regurgitate, we regurgitate, but often the stuff that sits on top of our stomach might come out first. So if you have more than one vomit, you might get everything out, but if you vomit only once, you'll get that stuff. But with an owl pellet, I'm not 100% sure if it's a similar sort of system. If they actually goes into the stomach and then it gets pushed out, because we know that the owls and birds go through the gizzard, where all of that sort of mechanical, muscular breakdown happens. So possibly once the digestion's happened inside the stomach and all of the meat has been ripped off of the bone and been digested, those bits and pieces will be able to be popped out. But I really don't know. It's a very good question from an owl point of view, but definitely with cats and dogs, they're not really able to discern what comes out of the stomach. Vomiting is vomiting, and they'll definitely empty their stomach contents onto the ground. We're being watched by an impala there, Glenn. Can you see? Straight back over that log. Our first animal of the morning. Hello, impala. So this variety of habitats abounding through this drainage system for the small and the big, the elephant tracks, snakes, scrub hares and owls and rodents alike. That's the beautiful thing about tracks and signs, is that you can see these signs left in the ground, on the ground, around, without having to physically see the animals. Very passive way of identifying species in an area without physically seeing them, which is what's so interesting about tracks and signs.
The male impala, the impala ram, just moved off now because there was another ram that came close to all of these females and he just ran and chased them off. Interesting how the rams had to herd all of the females closer and closer to keep them in tight groups, but then now we're right in the middle of the breeding season. All the females are going in to eat, so they're actually going and seeking out the rams. That ram that's there on the left looks like it might be a smaller one that Odie just had there. You can still hear another one calling there. Other females standing around here. See the young rams that's basically 5-6 months old now, trying to mount some of the females, already showing interest in the females that are in heat. See how this one's smelling the hindquarters of the other one, of the female there. So in like 7 months' time, we will be having lots of little impalas, lambs being born all over the place. So start of November till through to December, we're gonna have some impalas. You can see they're like a little bit of a darker color. Oh, there's the ram. Kim, you're asking when the young rams will be kicked out of the herd. So they are just a couple of months old now, so 5 or 6 months like we said, but when the next breeding season happens, so they'll stay with the herds, but then in the next breeding season, so next year this time, they'll be chased away by the bigger rams, and then they'll form little bachelor groups until they are big enough and strong enough to become the rams that can mate with the females. See how the ram's just trying to chase the young males. Every time there's a young ram that tries to mount a female, he'll go and kind of chase them away, but he's not too threatened by them. If you look closely, there's some of these impalas that are actually quite dark in color. So I'm sure you've heard before of how they can erect their hair, almost like we get goosebumps. All these impalas, if you look at the dark ones, they're erecting their hair on their bodies because of this cold, the wind, and just trying to warm themselves up a little bit. Two walking here, that's quite dark in color. Oh, almost looks like it might be a female there in the front. If she goes around closer to that ram that Odie had earlier, it might be interesting to see what happens if the dominant ram realizes that some of his females have moved off. Might come around and try and chase them back to the herd. Crits are freaky. I was saying it looks like quite a big herd. It is relatively big. I reckon there's probably somewhere around like 30 to 40 odd impalas around here. That includes the rams, the young rams, some young females as well. Some of them are ever behind this bush now. We can just see the one side of the herd, but we don't want to go closer because if we do, they're going to start scattering, and we want to see what happens when this male and some of the other rams maybe come a bit closer to investigate the females. With this wind blowing, I'm sure the rams close by that's downwind can really smell that the females are in heat. Seems like they've all settled down a little bit. Even the rams just keeping an eye out, but the females have started to feed a little bit. So this ram will try and mate with as many females as he can, but this is the first time that he's actually put his head down to start and feed a little bit, and see there he's already chasing them around again. So he'll lose quite a bit of condition because he's not really eating or anything like that. And once he does, then the next ram, which is nice and strong, that has been keeping his strength up, will come and push him out, and he'll have a chance to pass on his genes. There you can see a young ram just there on the right hand side, small little horns on his head. So that is 5-6 months old now. The first lambs we saw was born around the 23rd of November, somewhere around there. See how he's still listening this way towards the rest of the herd. Jasmine, you're asking how bachelor herds are formed. So the impalas actually mix quite a bit. You'll maybe find big bachelor herds throughout the year as well, and it's all these young rams that get pushed out by the dominant ones, and they form other herds with other rams, the younger rams also, and that is to give themselves a better chance of survival, and they can spar with each other, like play fighting, and try and build their strength until they are dominant and big, and they can start to dominate over other rams. So the dominant rams will chase these youngsters out in the next year or so, and then they'll group together. So the bachelor herds are basically just the impalas looking for companionship, the young rams, so that they have strength in numbers also for predators. Like two young rams. Locking horns a little bit there. You can see the one on the left-hand side's horns are a little bit longer. That's why this other one's maybe backing out a little bit. So cute when they're bucking like that. Gail, you're asking if the females ever fight to be mated with. No, the females will just go closer to the rams and hope the rams mate with them, so they don't really fight for it. It's really the rams that need to keep the other rams away. Oh, that's a young female that's now come and joined those two young males. She also wants to be part of the fun. Come on, guys, give me a chance to play too. Here comes what looks like, I think, the smaller ram, and look at this, here comes the big ram chasing them away now. Two rams that was just on the periphery, and this is the big ram. See how he's calling, trying to keep these other rams away. So they'll try and sneak in on the side of the herd, these young rams that's not as big as he is, and try and mate with a female or two while he's not looking. But look how he's herding the females away from them. The other rams are still not far away, but they are being watched very closely by the dominant ram. So he's like turning his back, walking away from the herd. But I'm sure as soon as the big dominant ram just looks away, they'll come closer and see if they can sneak into the herd there. But while we wait to see if these rams actually do fight, we are going to send you over to Pridelands that have found something.
Well, welcome back once again, everybody, to another hole in the ground with some poo. And very likely this is the poo of a dwarf mongoose. Just outside, littered on one side of the burrow, the hole of dung on this side, and then right over here, perfect little hidey holes in one of these termite burrows. Facilitated, obviously. The mongoose are able to dig, but they're not able to really create substantial burrow systems for themselves, so they utilize existing termite mounds where they will spend their days. They'll move between termite mounds within sort of their territory, and obviously once again birds of prey and the like are highly sort of their most dangerous aspect, and so hurrying and scurrying back into these burrows is of very, very high importance, being mainly diurnal, daytime, versus the many of the rodents that we'll see and the scrub hares that are mainly nocturnal, spending the night times hidden away in these burrows. But the reason we actually stopped over here was for something that I do believe to be the digging and burrow of a solifuge. Kevin, the mounds are very hard, very, very hard. I mean, I touch it like that, it'll break, but the clay particles over here will wash away. So the softer particles, like I'm rubbing with my fingers there, will just basically moved away. But they do get damaged. Rains do damage the mounds to a degree, but due to the fact that they sort of are elevated, they're elevated like this so that they don't flood. There will be some rain going in there, but the water will wash away a little bit of the outside. But it is pretty strong with regards to rain. But obviously excessive rain will lead to the mound itself maybe even collapsing because it is very clay rich, and once it gets very, very wet, it picks up quite a lot of moisture. It soaks up the moisture and actually has the potential to fall down, especially if something leans against it or touches it or stands on it. But for the most part, these mounds do withstand the test of time, but obviously everything after a period of time is going to collapse. But what we found over here is a very cool little digging. I'm almost certain, but I do stand to be corrected. I've seen this before. You can see that there's a whole lot of soil and dung pellets that have been deposited all the way over here. And then a little lid has been put over the hole over here. And I think this is for a solifuge. I'm not 100% sure. I mean, a trapdoor spider, there would be a silk element to that lid. Oh, hang on. Goodness me, this could be a trapdoor spider. Is that silk element there? It is. Wow. Now, it's not easy to find the trapdoor spiders. I've actually never physically found one myself. I'm not 100% sure if this is one. I thought solifuge initially, but solifuges don't have silk, and that is definitely a silk-based sort of cover, which I'm going to put back over the hole. Sorry, my friend. I didn't do a very good job of that. That could be the first trapdoor spider that I've found. They're called trapdoor spiders because they create a little bit soil inside, and they cover the silk. The silk is like a flap, like a trapdoor, which lifts up and open, and they just basically pull it back over. Like an attic door. Those of you who've got an attic and you've got that door in the attic that you climb in, and you open the door, it opens, and you pull it back again. That's exactly what they'll do. And being silk-based, it's normally attached on one of the sides there. So an animal or organism could be walking past, and they'll hear them walking. They can quickly open, go out and grab them, and go back in again. So I'm hoping this is a trapdoor spider. This is very cool if it is. And it also looks relatively fresh. All of this digging here and dung seems to be relatively fresh. So that is super, super cool. It's a trapdoor, just like a door, quite easily closed. But it was loose when we came. I touched it and it just moved slightly off. So I figured maybe solifuge, but now by seeing the silk. I've taken a photo. I'm going to double check, but if any of you out there are able to confirm for me what you think. Oh, there we go. It's come out. Oh, goodness. Look at that. Look at that, everybody. And is this another thing coming out? That looks like an ant coming out. Oh, my goodness. So now we might be able to see how it closes. Is the second one an ant or another spider? I can't really tell. How incredible. They're clearly fresh and clearly well used. Okay, so maybe we'll see it close it up again. It's obviously, as I said before, it hears the noises or feels the vibrations on the floor. And then it pops out. I think you actually got that live as well, Glenn, popping out. And it will come out and it'll grab an insect or an organism that's moving nearby, and it'll go straight back in again. So let's see if he goes back in and closes his door. And it was so easy to find because it was out in this open clearing with all these little dung particles around. The only other two I've seen were with a spider expert who knew what to look for, and they were all quite well concealed. How cool. So just to give you a perspective on the size once again. So definitely everybody, a trapdoor spider. I'm going to try and figure out what species.
Do you dream of an African holiday in unparalleled luxury? Where your days are spent in the company of wildlife and cooling off in your very own plunge pool? Well, this month's prize may be the one for you. Expertly camouflaged into the unspoiled environment of the world-famed Sabi Sand Game Reserve, it's hard not to fall in love with Simbambili. Sign up to be a Wild Earth explorer before the end of May, and you and a friend could be jetting off to this ultimate escape from reality. A luxurious safari and spa getaway wrapped up in one impressive package. Wild Earth explorers, it's in your nature. The Mara Triangle is a jewel in the Kenyan conservation crown, and thanks to the dedication of the Mara Conservancy, it thrives as one of Earth's greatest national treasures.
We have been experiencing a reduction in the whale snails that we collect on a monthly basis, and this is basically attributed to our intense patrols.
Over the years, this courageous team of anti-poachers has reduced poaching to almost zero.
Mimi naitwa Stephen Olereso. Nimefanya kazi miaka 16 sasa. Kuanzia mwaka 2002. Hao wanadamu ni wenye utua sana sana inaogofya ni wale wenye wanaenda kama ndovu. Wanatumia kama bunduki. Sasa hiyo ndio huwa inakuanga hatari sana sana kwa sisi.
As a result of the global pandemic and the massive reduction in tourist revenue, the Mara Triangle is facing a financial crisis. They need your help if they are to continue their ability to protect this magical land.
It's a huge privilege to be in these incredible places with these amazing animals. I love filming lions. When they do get up and do something, it's always spectacular. When they are playing, are incredibly fun to watch, especially subalterns and cubs. I love being in the bush and working in these incredible places with these amazing animals. We want to bring it to you so that you can almost feel like you're right there and be able to experience it and enjoy it the way.
So all the female impalas ran all onto this open clearing, and this, you can see the ram just ran after them to try and keep them away from the other males there. You can see the whole herd is actually now spread out. A few still behind the bushes where we were filming earlier, but you can see how he's chasing the females around there. Looks like these impalas are going straight into their breeding season now, and with all these females going into heat and this male ratting, it will be very nice to come back to the specific open area and see how many impalas, lambs there will be around at the end of this year, November, December. Maybe we should put a few dates down to see across the reserves when the first lamb will be seen. But while we are just watching these impalas, we are getting to the end of our drive, and we'll see you again this afternoon when we are live again on a live safari.